And so one of the things that hopefully you are asked to do is to look for deals here in the Phoenix area so that when you come here, we can look at them. Did anyone happen to look and did anyone find any? Here's an interesting thing. As soon as you see this ad, owner user opportunity. What they could have said is, we've experienced an abysmal failure at finding a tenant. So now we're forced to sell this property. Good or bad? Well, it depends. $125 a foot. That's relatively cheap. If the price reflects the fact that it's vacant, they'll give us, right now the asking price is 2.2. If we paid 2.2, we might get 60% of that. But if we can secure a tenant before closing on it, and we can make the value $3 million, then we might get 60% of $3 million. That's $1.8 million, which is close to the purchase price. I wouldn't say buy this because it's ugly, but because it is ugly, a lot of people gloss over it and think, can't do anything with it. Look at it, it's horrible. Look at the blue, that's icky. Ugh. And yet that could turn out to be a call any of a number of things. Like a coat of paint would transform the way it looks and feels. We'll go past this one and just see, is it on a busy road or a quiet road? What I have here is a pair, they're very high quality. These are Lights binoculars. And these are 10 by 25, so they've got a 10 magnification. And you can see onto roofs using this the way you couldn't do with anything. So you'd be surprised how often I use these to check things like that out. How do you go about finding a tenant? It's 8. It's not that many. It's not that many. And yet, that is a 5-day discussion. Remember I said, I'm not in the game of investing in commercial. I am, but I'm in the game of finding tenants. If you can find a tenant for this building, if we can make this worth $900,000 and we buy it for $445,000, that means the value of getting a tenant is $400,000. Do you think I'm willing to put a bit of effort in to get $400,000 smackaroos put in my bank account? Of course. So I'll like to know, and I don't know from this sheet, how long has it been on the market? If the guy's had trouble selling it, I'll go to him and say, listen, if I can find a tenant, I'll buy it from you. But I want you to allow me to do a few things. Firstly, I want to get rid of that god-awful orange color. I can paint that for $1,000. And then I'm going to get a big canvas sign that I hang on the side saying, for lease, with my phone number on it. Because if I put someone else's phone number, they don't answer it, or they'll call you back and they never do, or whatever. And then I'll go to a lot of effort. That's a whole discussion as to how we get tenants. And we'll explore that, but I think it'll be more fun to explore as we find specific buildings and we apply this way of getting tenants for those specific buildings. If it has been a nightclub, maybe it would be a good place for a nightclub. So it could be, but maybe it's a good car repair shop. We don't know. That's where you have to see it. And that's where the creativity comes in. And each of us will have a slightly different creative bent on it. This is up and coming. It's really undergone a transformation. The first one we're going to is that orange colored one, the ugly one. So I think it's still in the area that's not quite so good, but it's very up and coming. If you can catch that wave, you're not paying top dollar. So we're going to start there, then we're going to go into the gentrified area. Our Tiger building, the one we found in class, is on the left here. And if you see grass growing up around the edge where it hasn't been maintained, it's probably vacant. Look at the grass out front here. They're having trouble getting a tenant. If it's been on long enough, then their expectation of price will sag. It's costing them money. Property taxes, insurance, maintenance issues, chances of theft, insurance premiums can go up when it's vacant. So if you offer them something crazy, the way Owen does, you might get it for a song. So it needs a bit of work. The suspended ceiling's all messed up. Carpets need doing.
Oh, yeah.
But this is... Oh, yeah. The parking is immaculate here, guys. Look at, and it's all covered. Covered is important in Phoenix. You could throw solar panels on there, and that would help offset the electricity consumption. And it's a great location. It's like, and look at all the apartment buildings that have gone in. They have hundreds of people living in there. So all potential clients for whatever operation you have here. I think it's good.
Is it concerning that there's 4 buildings all available, in the same block?
Yeah, I'd look into it, but I don't think so. If there was nothing else going on, but look at the new build there, all the beautiful office towers around. The one next door is new. I think it's just time before they all get revamped. And if everyone demolishes and builds around you and you've got this old building that you've done up, the cost of doing this up relative to building new is trivial. And I'd go to a commercial leasing agent and say, how many tenants, potential tenants do you have looking for space like this? Yeah, I'd even consider, because there's so much medical around here,
Yes.
going to some of these outlets saying, hey, do you have a need for specialist clinics
Yes.
within walking distance or half a mile or whatever of the hospital? Because if we did this up to a high level, I think these would make great medical premises.
I think so.
Mainly because of all the parking here. The worst thing you want is get somewhere, and where do you park?
Exactly.
You know, well, I don't know if it's a lot, but they are willing to look at anything because right now there's a chronic shortage of housing. And this building is vacant and it's ugly and it's causing homeless people to camp here. So if you say, listen, I'm an investor, I'm looking at doing something here. I want to put commercial on the ground floor and make live-work units where you work downstairs and live upstairs. That could be a cool thing, or make the whole thing residential. They'll look at it. I've got a piece of land, it's 56 feet by 60 feet. And if you take what's called offsets into account, where you have to be 15 feet from that boundary and 30 feet from that, I can build a shack of 2.5 square feet, not quite, but it's like a shed. But I went to them and said, I've got this piece of land, it's vacant. You'll get a lot more property tax if you let me build something on it. They said, what do you want to do? They said, you want to put a house on? They said, no, I want to put a duplex on, like 2. And they said, well, that's pushing the boundaries. I said, I know. They said, we like it. We'd get, no, they did. They want to do it. They don't want a vacant lot there for homeless people. They want 2 units generating taxable revenue for them. So I would approach them and forget what the zoning rules are. They're very amenable to ideas and creativity. And look how the city's changed. 20 years ago, you couldn't have the tables and chairs of a coffee shop or a cafe on the sidewalk. There was council land. We'll fine you. And now they're encouraging it. And they're making sidewalks wider so that more people, because they know that's what attracts people. Pick up anyone we've left behind. Eric? Not that we do that often. Well, we don't know. It just says available.
Well, available.
And
right.
usually that means available for rent, and it could be 1 unit out of 20. So Jay said, we should take that number and call it. So the smart people take a photo and then call it on the bus on the way to our next place.
And then we know what's going on.
Then we know what's going on. That's how you do it. Calling the number on the signs to see what the rental rates are and what available means, for lease or for sale. And is it 1 unit or the whole building? But full marks to AJ for calling that. He said there was 1 unit for lease, but it's no longer available. So we all thought the whole street's available. It can't be good here. It's fully leased. They're too lazy to take their sign down. It's like, this is our competition. It's great. I love it. We went and looked at the church. You may remember that. Brick building, church on the corner. It had the gym in the basement, vacant up above. It had the bishop's house next door, and then a 4-plex. They did renderings of what you can do there. They didn't have much detail on the listing. Only one of us on the bus called the number, and that was Jason, our heroic phone dialer when we're on our buses. And you got a response rate, Jason.
I did.
And you found the price.
$3.5 million.
Notice I made sure everyone was sitting before he mentioned that. That is ridiculous, guys, even for what it is. So I think it's a price based on 6 months ago, and the market was high. And remember, you put a house on the market and people outbid each other within the first 24 hours. That is crazy. I'm happy. I've got a house across the road. If that's 3.5 million, mine's even worth more than Zillow says it is. But I don't think it's going to sell for 3.5. But I was saying, find a reason not to buy something, boom, and then move on. So the first one, horrible area, it's going to take too long, I think, move on. The church, I love that building. It's in great shape. And the house next door, it looks better than my house across the road. And the 4-plex, they were talking, you said, about turning it into an 8-plex. Like, what do they call it? Micro houses. Yeah. Well, you won't get quite as much rental for it, but if you get 60%, times twice as many, that's a lot more money. That's 20% more overall. So that's a good idea, but it's too expensive. We can't make it work. It won't cash flow. Boom, move on. Good question. So the question is, should we put an offer in anyway? Like, I wouldn't offer 3.4 or 3.3. So it would have to be, we'd have to do the numbers, but it's going to be more like 1.9, 2 million before it's really viable. That's so far below. We'd check how many days it's on market. If it's been on the market for 258 days, I'd say, yeah, it's time to put an offer in. If it's been on for 31 days, It's too soon. They're still hopeful that some sucker's going to pay $3.5 million for it.